Developers, I have prepared one more file about string interpolation for us to review. And in here, I've created a number of variables. Again, you didn't even see me type all this stuff here, but here I just have essentially a number of variables that are going to describe what an address it might be, right? So street, apartment number, zip code, state, city. And then I have concatenated them using, just the plus sign operator to combine the strings. I did this purposely to show you that, if I want to stick in the spaces so that I can have a properly formatted string, this gets a little noisy. The \n is a special character that is for a new line character, right? And so how this is going to render then is that it's going to render like what you would expect an address to render, and then when you find these new line characters, what's going to show is a new line. So that's going to get displayed. Oh, what happened here? That's going to get displayed. Open live server. I hit the wrong option. And that's going to get displayed as a new line. Let's go see that, how it renders. Here we go. So 100 Main Street, apartment B. This text happens to be centered in these little boxes, right? So my address variable pointing to this string in memory. But now let's do this in a simpler manner, right? I want to do this in a simpler manner because this gets noisy. It gets hard to manage as we do changing it. And when I say hard, it's sensitive, right? Because you just mess this up a little bit and then you end up having something displaying that isn't pleasant for your user. So a little different now. I'm going to say, I'm just going to call it address 2. And what I'm going to start out with here is I'm going to start using the backtick, right? So it's that character by the tilde. Okay, so backtick, an open and close backtick, a semicolon. And in here, what we can do with the backtick, this only works with the backtick, is I am going to put in a placeholder for street. And so notice I have to do the $sign, right? So let me take this because I'm just going to use this over and over. I'm copying that, putting that in my clipboard. So here's street. This is where street is going to end up rendering, right? In fact, you can do this. Let's baby step that way. My street is that. Let me bring this over. And we'll see that now, instead of having to do a plus sign, any of that funness, I just wrote my string as is. And then where I wanted my street variable to show up, I put in the variable for street using that syntax. So again, just using the $sign, open and close curly, and put in the name of the variable, and it shows up there. So this is really convenient because I can do, again, I can put in string, I can embed a string literal inside of that, combine it with a variable. So now how am I going to get my apartment in here? So we're going to do for the new line, right? So the \/ is going to escape it and say, I don't mean to put an N there. I mean to put a special character there. And that special character is going to be the new line. And I am going to put then the apartment, right? And you'll see that simply by doing this, I can now start building out the regular address that I had before. So if I have that there, I got to put in a new line again, right? Oh, let me do it a different way. Instead of doing the new line, I'm going to put an actual carriage return in there. I'm actually going to hit enter. So now that I hit enter, I'm going to put in my city, and then I need to put a space in there, and I'm going to put in my state, and then I'm going to put another space in there, and I'm going to put in the zip code, right? So zip code, by the way, is a string. It's not a number. Zip code is a string. A rule of thumb that helps you determine whether or not this a variable should be a string or a number is, do I do math on it? Right. So for example, zip codes, we really don't do math on it. We might calculate the distance from one zip code to another, but that's doing a different type of math based on the latitude and longitude, not necessarily, well, not the zip code. If I told you to store your phone number, it's a little deceiving because the word number's in it, but the phone number is also a string as well. Back to string interpolation example. So what do we got going on now? This looks very similar, right? I've got the carriage returns in where I need it, right? The new lines. So this looks nice. But you can tell that this is shifted a little bit, right? This is just shifted a little bit off right here because there's some extra characters in there. Now, where did the extra characters come from? And this is a feature, a benefit, but then also something you have to deal with the backtick. What you're seeing there is these extra characters right here, right? So it picked up the new line. That got me down to line 32. But then from the new line over, it's picking up these characters as well. So if I wanted to keep that new line in there and not write /n, I have to go to the trouble of deleting this. And if I delete that now, you'll see that it's going to come back formatted appropriately, right? So this looks good. If for some reason this makes me feel just icky about it, I can also try to do the following. And notice again, because these characters here are not part of the actual variable. They don't show up, they don't actually end up getting rendered. They don't actually end up being part of the value that we store that is being pointed to by the address to variable. So this new line over here might be a little annoying for you. So if you really wanted to, you could simply just come back in here and wrap this apartment in a new line, and it's going to render the way we wanted it to, right? So this is nice. This is nice. It's the same string. And why I showed, so look, now in comparison, let me put this in on the same line. Right, this is a little easier to work with because if I needed to throw in, like, for example, if I wanted to throw in a comma here, right? Depending on the address, and how I wanted to organize this, throwing a comma in here, putting in, like, maybe if I wanted to put in labels for these particular things, just depends on the business rule that you have. Might have going, oh, maybe it's called postal code. It just depends, right? You might have other requirements. The point being that when we want to combine these strings, we can take the time to do it like this. Again, it gets a little noisy, a little messy, a little hard to maintain and introduce new characters. Or we can mix the string literals with these special characters and the variables using the backticks. Comes in really handy, okay? This comes in really handy when we want to combine a lot of strings together and put in what is going to end up formatting that the user is going to see. So really helpful. Again, this is valid with the ticks. If you make a mistake and you use the double quotes, let me show you what this is going to look like. So if you make a mistake and you put in double quotes, notice that in the code editor that we're using, VS Code, we get a hint that there's something off because these placeholders here are the same color as the text. And if we look at the end result, we see that the $sign is there in the actual word zip code as opposed to the value. And you might think like, oh my God, something's wrong. My JavaScript engine's broken. What's going on? It's not. It's just that the syntax that we use. And notice again now how the placeholders are going to change in color. They have the actual blue color around the placeholder. That special syntax that we got to use the $sign curly brackets. And that's string interpolation. Folks, put that in the back of your mind when you want to start combining, when you want to start concatenating strings.